Welcome back to the Big Fat Quiz 2013. This round is all about the year in sport. Cyclist Lance Armstrong confessed all on Oprah about his drug use. Oprah said Armstrong was emotional and intense. Well, that's drugs for you. As well as confessing to taking drugs, the cyclist also admitted peddling. Andy Murray stormed to victory at Wimbledon in July. It was 77 years since the last Englishman won Wimbledon, Fred Perry, who had to beat Ben Sherman, Ted Baker and Ron Superdry along the way. I'm not saying Andy Murray is dour, but he took his victory champagne and put it in the fridge to save for a special occasion. OK, time for some questions. First one. In July this year, Andy Murray stormed to victory at Wimbledon, but what teenage behaviour were Hollywood actors Gerard Butler and Bradley Cooper caught doing at the final?
You should write some jokes for him.
Yeah.
Beaches are always like, it was a really tough man. He's really won a lot. Oh, he's like Superman. And he goes, yeah, it was really difficult. Write a joke for him, Jimmy, you selfish fuck.
He's a lovely fella. He's dropped into Mockthwee twice. I think with sport relief for us. He's great. He laughs at himself. Lovely fella. Everything's all... Really...
What, are you going out with him? Why don't you marry him?
You can now.
From March, I can.
Where did you watch the match from?
I watched the match from inside his tennis bag. He didn't know I was there. It was brilliant. I was in there amongst the sweatbands and his old pants.
Handing him bananas.
Handing him Lucozade. He loved it. It was a really tough match.
It's a very good Andy Murray. OK, next question. How did the normally genteel Oxford and Cambridge boat race land the BBC in trouble with Ofcom this year? Have you seen the Oxford-Cambridge boat race, Kristen?
Never. Wait, I did. I saw it on Social Network.
Oh, yes,
Yes,
OK.
it's in the Social Network, you're right.
It was in the Social Network.
So it's that, basically.
Well, it's a real thing. How did they get into trouble with the BBC? They showed coverage of that and they got
Lots
into
of
trouble.
things in the film The Social Network are real things. Nobody thinks they invented, like, rowing for the sake of the film The Social Network, and then ever since that film came out...
Yeah, it's not like Americans watching it thinking that's like Quidditch. It doesn't really happen.
Next, it's over to the chirpiest man in pop, Olly Murs.
Yay.
Hi Jimmy, Olly Murs here. Now, when I'm not in the studio making records, I'm no stranger to the football pitch. But can your teams tell me what was unusual about the new signing to Doncaster Rovers reserve team this year?
So, Kristen, very much a question for you there. Doncaster Rovers, what was unusual about their signing? Come on. This must have been big news in America.
It was big news in America.
Oh, yeah, OK, so over to Christine Ohuruogu for our next question.
Hi, Jimmy. Now, I've had a pretty good 2013. I won a gold medal at the World Championships for the second time, and I was named Athlete of the Year for a third time. It was also a big year for David Beckham, who signed for Paris Saint-Germain in January, his last club before retiring. But can your teams tell me what he immediately did with all the money?
OK.
Oh, did you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, he knows a lot of stuff.
He really does.
Yeah, but Beckham was an achievement.
It doesn't look like it, but he knows stuff.
Do you know what I'd do if I was David Beckham and I had all that money and international fame? First thing I'd do, I would go up to those people that do the caricatures in Leicester Square and just buy the one of myself. Do you know the way they always have a David Beckham there, ready to go? It's like an example. How sweet would that be? Everyone else is queuing, it takes ages to get drawn. You're David Beckham, you just turn up, yeah.
One off the
I'll
shelf.
have that one off the shelf, and off I go.
With all your money.
I like David Beckham. He was on my show with Will Ferrell. A couple of fucking A-listers there.
Yeah, but he came on your show then, but 2 weeks prior to that, I definitely saw him on the Alan Titchmarsh show. He's seeing other hosts.
OK, let's get some answers. First up, I asked you what teenage behaviour Gerard Butler and Bradley Cooper were caught doing during the Wimbledon final.
They blanked Jonathan Ross.
No.
Jonathan was there at the final and he was trying to be friends and say, oh, you come on my show. And they were like, fuck off. Yeah. They were. You were both there at that
We were there.
final.
Well, I was there with Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually saw it. He worked there before. I know what...
You were trying to flirt with them. You're like, oh, I'd love to have you on, Bradley. And they're like, I'm afraid we're booked for loose women.
Dara, Christian.
They were jumping about and high-fiving and...
Or breakdancing?
They brought lino and they spun on their heads. They were high-fiving each other and...
No.
OK, what? Noel? Richard?
Necking and texting and giving each other Eskimo kisses.
Eskimo kisses?
Yes, with the nose and... No.
Could you, Noel?
Yeah, we could, but we'd rather...
I would have done it then. You were such a slut. You were better. I'll give you one.
We'd rather have sex in the box.
No one wants to see that.
The answer was they were spotted actually taking a selfie. Taking a little selfie there of themselves. I asked you how the boat race landed the BBC in trouble with Ofcom. What did you put?
We put no oars.
Yeah, so they were doing it like, you know, when you're in the bath and you can't get the hot water down there.
Okay, Dara, Kristen.
I didn't know. I thought nip slips.
Oh, that's good. Rolling and suddenly, oh, what's that?
Oh, so many nipples.
Look at literally on
The
every
children.
stroke. Doing. Little singlets moving to the sides.
Worse than nip slips is if your cox slips out. I mean, very much a rowing piece.
And you said swearing as well. Noel and Richard?
Cox did a swear.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a little bit of swearing. Oscar Zorilla, the Oxford cock, swore all the way through.
Yeah, but he's the cox. It's like, it doesn't matter what he says. If Claire Balding said it's time for the fucking boat race, then you could complain, but he's the cox.
Next up, Olly Murs asked you what was unusual about Doncaster Rovers' new reserve signing. Did you get it?
He is a she.
Well, I think Dara got it.
It's a member of, I think it's One Direction. I can't be, but one of those bands.
Yeah.
So our answer is still valid. He is a she. I love it.
Noel, Richard?
One Direction.
That's right.
The answer is it's Louis Tomlinson
Louis
from One
Tomlinson.
Direction is their new reserve signing for Doncaster Rovers.
Wow.
Wow.
There he is.
He's the one on the right, yeah.
OK, next up, Christine Ohuruogu asked you what David Beckham did with all his wages when he signed for Paris Saint-Germain. Any ideas?
Over to Jonathan.
I think he was going to a market and he exchanged the money for some magic beans.
Victoria was furious. She threw the beans out the window.
Then overnight, a giant beanstalk grew, and young David went up the beanstalk.
He was very brave, but he was also scared because there's a giant living at the top of it. 3, 4, 5 from I smell a range of colognes.
OK, Dara, Christian?
He gave his money to children's charities.
OK, Noel, Richard?
He bought new shin pads. No, charity, we put, look, at the start, charity.
Or a flat screen 3D enabled TV.
I can see the charity there. So the answer was David Beckham gave all his wages to a French children's charity. But he's regretting that now. He's got to support a wife and 4 kids on his pension. And now for a bonus question. It's over to the Big Fat Quiz's Masterpiece Theatre, where actor Charles Dance is reading from a celebrity biography published this year.
Chapter 5. I sometimes have to pinch myself when I think of what I'm doing and how lucky I am. Not long ago, I was out and Steven Gerrard, the England player, came up to me and shook my hand and was like, "I love the show, I always watch it." I nearly choked on my vodka. I couldn't believe it. It was crazy. And I was like, WTF? We had some banter and I couldn't get my head round it. My legs were like jelly. Lol. By the time I got invited to Jamelia's birthday party at Mavida and swapped numbers of Pixie Lot, the most starstruck I've ever been is when I sort of met Beyoncé at her perfume launch. I love Beyoncé, but unfortunately she had a load of security around her, so I had to just look at her. Sad face. Then there was that time I was late for the Twilight premiere and ended up on the red carpet next to Taylor Lautner and Robert Pattinson. I fancy the pair of them. I definitely wouldn't say no. And I couldn't believe it was happening and that I was actually next to them. It was brilliant. Hashtag the good times.
Charles Dance there. Very good. OK. So what celebrity autobiography was that from?
Why?
Have you all got something?
Yeah.
OK. So, Jack, you've gone for?
He went for
Baroness Trumpington of Sandwich.
Almost the opposite of that. Dara and Christian.
We've gone for legendary cleric Bishop Desmond Tutu. It's the tech speak that gave it away.
No, Richard.
We put his own autobiography. It might be a double bluff. Because he didn't seem to even be looking at the book. It was like he'd lived it.
He was reading by
weird.
candlelight. It was like Cyrano de Bergerac. There's no way he could have been reading the
Also,
words.
that didn't even look like the book.
No.
It was leather-bound.
That was something out of a jumble sale at the props department. The whole thing's a fucking sham.
Let's go back and see.
That was an extract from Secrets of an Essex Girl by Lauren Goodger. A Maze.
I actually don't know who that is.
Yeah,
She's in The Only Way is Essex.
Ah, right.
Let's see what that's done to the scores. OK, so Jack and Jonathan have 6 points. Noel and Richard have 16. Dyer and Christian in the lead with 17 points at this stage. Time for a quick break, 2 and 3.